Yesterday, I was out walking my super smart dog when I came across a nice breach and a crunch of leaf under my boot. I asked, what could this possibly mean to my dog, and my dog responded, the weather is changing, D&D Hunter. Fall is upon us, and then winter is coming. I think I responded with something like, is that a Game of Thrones reference? And my dog just said yeah, which is interesting. But it also had me thinking, how does seasons changing affect the world of Dungeons & Dragons? Hey everyone, welcome back to my super new D&D channel. If you're new here, here's a quick reminder that I'm not a mind flayer, I'm actually just a regular human being. Today we're talking about something that often gets overlooked in Dungeons & Dragons, that's time itself, more specifically the seasons. Think about it. Our world is shaped by the rhythm of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Seasons affect travel, the way people live, the monsters that roam, and the stories we tell. Yet in most D&D games, time just kind of floats by. Days pass, sure, but don't always feel different between traveling from July versus traveling in January. So today, let's fix that. I'm going to show you how to bring seasons into your world. We'll start by looking at the calendars in the Dungeons Master's Guide. Then we'll move on to the 4 seasons, one by one: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. For each one, I'll give you the tools to shape travel, weather, festivals, roleplay, and even monsters in your campaign. By the end, you'll be able to make your world feel more alive just by paying attention to the time of year. So let's dive in.
John, a raven came from the citadel. A white raven. Winter is here.
Alright, before we talk about the seasons, let's ground ourselves in how calendars even work in Dungeons & Dragons. The 2024 Dungeons Master Guide actually gives a solid baseline. If you flip to page 145 and 146 of your DM's guide, it explains that the default setting, Greyhawk, uses the calendars of 12 months, each 30 days long. That's 360 days total. But in between the months are 4 festival weeks: Richfest, Brewfest, Needfest, and Growfest. These aren't just filler, they're built-in story moments. For example, Richfest is a midsummer celebration of music, dancing, and firelight. Brewfest is all about harvest and brewing competitions, hence the name, I guess. Needfest marks the turning of the year with feasts and gift giving, which is basically Christmas and New Year's combined. And Growfest celebrates planting and renewal. Think of these festivals as anchor points in your campaign. They can be like big parties and cultural events, or even moments of political tension. And just like in real life, holidays are perfect excuses for gathering NPCs and characters together, running special adventures, or pulling your players into unexpected chaos. But you don't have to stick with Greyhawk. You can homebrew your own calendar. Maybe your world only has 10 months, or maybe the elves use a lunar system while the dwarves mark time by mining its seasons. Or maybe you want to make it simple by just keeping it January to December, Monday to Sunday, which is totally fine. In fact, the Dungeons Master Guide here even actually straight up tells you that it could be easier to track it if you do it this way rather than the Greyhawk setting. The Greyhawk setting is mostly to make it more fantasy, make your world feel like you're in a different world from our own. It's got this great sort of guide in turning your game to do so. For example, here, it can show how you can convert the days that we know to the days that the citizens of Greyhawk would know. Monday would be Moon's Day, Tuesday would be God Day, and so on. But in the end, what matters is making the passage of time feel more tangible. And now that we got that framework done, let's see how the seasons themselves can transform your world.
So I'm going to try to control something that's a lot easier than people. I'm going to try to control the weather. Yeah, wait.
For this section of the video, I'll go over the 4 seasons and break each season into 5 little categories: travel, weather, monsters, roleplay, and some plot hook ideas for you. First up is spring, the season of renewal. In most worlds, this is the season of new beginnings. Snow melts, rivers flood, plants sprout, animals come back to life. But in Dungeons & Dragons, spring can be so much more than just background flavor. Let's go over travel in spring. This is messy. Roads are muddy, bridges are washed out, rivers can overflow their banks, caravans may struggle to go through, and your players can face flooded crossings or landslides. Well, maybe not extreme as you see here. Actually, you know what? This is Dungeons & Dragons. It can definitely be as extreme as you see here. At times, not every time of course, but hey, why not make it this extreme? Imagine a journey where your party is forced to ford a swollen river. Their house is struggling against the current. Or maybe they stumble upon a washed out road that delays them by days. These aren't just random obstacles, they make time matter. If you want to tie it back to mechanics, you can use survival checks to navigate muddy terrain, or constitution checks for exhaustion, if your players are slogging through the endless rain, of course. Weather in spring. This means lots of rain. Lots and lots of rain. Thunderstorms, flash floods, even the occasional tornado depending on your setting. This is a perfect opportunity to create atmosphere. Picture your players setting up camp as thunder rolls in the distance. Lightning strikes the hills, the ground starts to turn to muck. Suddenly, even a simple long rest can feel a bit more difficult to achieve. And don't forget the warmth. Spring is the shift from cold to hot. The constant back and forward is a chance to remind your players that nature is unpredictable, depending on where you live in the world, but sometimes you go outside during the springtime and you wear a sweater and you go to wherever it is you're going to. By the time you leave that place, it's so hot out that you just gotta ditch the sweater, I guess. Make that kind of like what weather can be like in D&D. Cold mornings, hot afternoons. Now let's talk about the spring-themed monsters. Spring is the season of awakening. Think of monsters tied to growth, rebirth, or sudden bursts of life. Ankhegs are bursting out of farmlands as the farmers plant their crops. Dryads and trents are watching over young forests. Quattles, I don't know how I'm saying that. Quattles or unicorns are a symbol of purity or renewal. Quattles, I don't know if I'm saying that right. This is how it's spelled here. I mean, it sounds like I'm saying quackles. Quattles, that thing, this thing. Even giant insects coming out of hibernation, swarms of wasps or sturges are perfect here. And if you lean a little bit more into myth, spring is also tied into fertility gods, trickster spirits, or primal forces of growth. All that can bleed into your encounters. And as far as roleplay festivals go, spring festivals in your world would celebrate planting, fertility, or even rebirth after winter's hardship. Maybe there's a maypole-like dance or a ceremony where people toss offerings into the river to keep it from flooding too badly, like this here. Although, as the dungeon master, you could still make this happen, just saying. On the darker side, spring could also mean outbreaks of disease. Melted snow and floods contaminate wells, spreading illness. Suddenly, a town might be desperate for clerics or herbologists. This is a perfect plot for adventures. Speaking of adventures, here are some plot hooks ideas that I came up with that you can use in your campaign if you're in the springtime. A river has overflowed and swallowed half a village. I really like this overflowing river idea. Can the players help rescue the people, or can they rebuild? A spring festival is interrupted by angry forest spirits because the sacred grove was cut down. Crops sprout too quickly. Turns out a druid circle is manipulating their growth for their own gain, and it's overrunning the town. Spring is about change, renewal, growth, and unpredictability. If you can capture that, your players will feel the world coming alive again. Next up is summer, the season of heat.
Pretty much everywhere, it's gonna be hot. Got it?
Then I don't need a jacket. Thanks, Arthur.
Long days, hot sun, sometimes unbearable conditions. Summer is the season of endurance for both the people of your world and the adventures passing through it. Summer makes travel faster in some ways. Roads are clear, rivers are calm, and daylight stretches longer. But heat exhaustion becomes a real issue, especially if your world has deserts, badlands, or tropical jungles. Make your players think about water for the first time in D&D. Sorry, how often is it that a player says they want to eat a ration but they don't want to drink water? I mean, I guess that implies that you are drinking water with it, but this is your opportunity to make your players actually think about water. Maybe they need to find an oasis or risk exhaustion, or maybe the heat warps the land itself. Mirages on the horizon, cracked roads, forests dry enough to burst into flames. And with the weather of summer, you're thinking heat waves, you're thinking drought, you're thinking wildfires. These aren't just random ideas, they're events. If your players are traveling through a droughted town might be rationing food or water. If a wildfire breaks out, it becomes a living hazard they have to escape. On the flip side, summer can also bring storms. Moonstones in tropical regions, hurricanes along the coast. Just because it's sunny one day doesn't mean nature won't remind you who's the boss the next day. Summer is also perfect for fire-themed monsters or predators that thrive in the heat. We're talking fire elementals, salamanders, or mephites slipping through the world through cracks during the heat wave. Giant scorpions or basilisks roaming desert roads. Wyverns or manticores are nesting in cliffs under the warm months. And don't forget swarms of mundane threats like giant mosquitoes, biting flies, or snakes. But it's not all bad. When we come to the festivals and roleplay, summer is when civilians thrive. As long as you're in a large town, crops are growing, people are celebrating, and war often begins here, unfortunately. Summer festivals might revolve around solstice, harvest markets, or even gladiator games under the sun. This is our chance for your players to enjoy lively markets, colorful parades, and tense tournaments. But summer can also stretch people thin. Farmers need help with their fields, raiders take advantage of clear weather, and nobles might scheme while everyone's distracted by their celebration. For some summer plot hooks, you can do things like a wildfire that cuts trade routes. Was this natural, or was it caused by arson? A summer tournament that hides an assassination attempt. An ancient fire elemental awakens during the hottest summer in memory. Summer adventures should feel hot, intense, and a little dangerous, just like the season itself, but it could also cause for celebration and happiness as the summer holidays are here.
My name's Tom.
Nice to meet you. I'm Autumn.
Now we come to autumn, the season of harvest, and my personal favorite. The air cools, crops ripen, and the shadows grow longer. Autumn is the season of transition, a little cozy, but also a little eerie. Travel gets tricky in autumn. Roads are slick with leaves, early storms batter ships, and daylight hours shrink. The world feels more dangerous, even if it isn't frozen just yet. Hunters might be active gathering food before winter. D&D Hunter might be uploading more videos every single week. And bandits too might often strike, knowing the winter will soon lock them down. Autumn is about storms and decay, cold winds that sweep through towns, rain turns to sleet, nights get longer and darker. This is the perfect setup for eerie campfire sessions, ghost stories, or nighttime ambushes. It's also harvest time. Good harvest means festivals and feasts. A bad harvest, that can mean famine, riots, and desperate measures. And of course, autumn screams horror. When it comes to monsters in autumn, think blights and shambling mounds that coming alive from the fallen leaves. Werewolves and vampires prowl during the long nights. Will-o-wisps haunt misty fields. Even fake creatures like redcaps or hags thrive in the liminal energy of the fall. If you're planning a horror session, autumn is your season to do it, and for sure. When it comes to festivals, harvest festivals are huge. Think of Thanksgiving, Oktoberfest, or Halloween. People gather to celebrate, feast, and drink. But autumn festivals can also mask danger. What if the wine is cursed? What if the ritual meant to ensure a good harvest accidentally opens a portal to Shadowfell, which you can get even spookier down there? This is also when people are preparing for winter though. That means desperation, bartering, and tension. Imagine a town running out of grain with a village begging adventurers to stop a group of them hoarding their supplies. That's one adventure. Here are some other adventures for you. A harvest festival is plagued by ghostly apparitions. The crops rot overnight. Is this a hag's curse? Something natural? Or something darker? A noble house stockpiles grain, leaving the surrounding village to starve. Autumn is one season of mystery and fear. If you want the world to feel moody and uncertain, lean into this one. Make your autumn seasons just a little bit longer if you want it to last. In the end, it's your choice. And finally, winter, the season of survival. The harshest, most unforgiving season. Winter is about survival and endurance and looming presence of death. I might be a little dramatic there, but I'm gonna be. Because when you travel in the wintertime, snow blocks the road, rivers freeze, mountains become impassable. Winter is the perfect excuse to trap your players somewhere for a while. Maybe they're snowed into a remote village. Maybe they're cut off by avalanches and are forced to go through the mountain instead of over.
Trying to bring down the mountain! Randall, we must turn back!
Travel checks in winter should feel punishing. Constitution saves for cold, survival checks for food and shelter, exhaustion if they push too hard. It's not just about monsters, the world itself becomes the enemy. And with weather in winter, obviously the winter is brutal. Blizzards, hailstorms, and endless nights. But also, it could be beautiful. A world covered in snow is still quiet. Use that to set the tone. You can even play with how different creatures respond. Do wolves grow bolder in deep snow? Do villages depend on ice fishing instead of crops? These little details add flavor. When it comes to monsters in winter, winter monsters are iconic. We're talking frost giants and white dragons that claim dominance of the frozen lands. Remora hazes lurk under the ice. Undead thrive in endless nights as skeletons, frozen in armor, waits prowling the snowfield. Winter monsters don't just fight, they stalk, they starve. They force players to think about their survival. When it comes to roleplay, winter festivals often revolve around light and the darkness. Candles, bonfires, gift-giving, and anything to keep the spirits up. Those can be wholesome, or they can be twisted. A solstice festival might actually be a ritual to appease dark gods. On the roleplay side, winter is when communities close in on themselves. That can create drama, secrets can come out when people are trapped together, obviously, and resources grow scarce. Your world's nobles can demand food, which makes your world's poor become desperate. For winter plot hooks, we have a village is snowed in with adventurers, but one of the villagers is a murderer. Frost giants raid the longest night of the year. A winter solstice is corrupted as someone is summoning something from Frostville. Someone is summoning something. Someone is summoning something. That's hard to do 3 times. I was going to try to do it 5, but I'm going to move on instead. Winter is unforgiving, but it also creates some more memorable adventures. If your players survive a winter campaign, they'll likely never forget it. In my own campaign, as time went on, I really liked the idea of a frost-ridden winter. If you watch my videos on maps, you might know what I'm talking about, but if you didn't watch that video, go watch it after this one. This is what my homebrew map looked like when we started the campaign, and this is what it looks like today, 13 levels later. I plunged my world into an ice age, and it's been a fun, scary, and frosty time for both me and my players. Before I go to the outro of this video, I just want to mention that we also have Eladrin. These are fey creatures that are tied to the seasons, every season. Each one embodies a mood. Spring is joy, summer is fiery, autumn is melancholic, and winter is sorrowful. They make for perfect NPCs or even player options in a campaign where seasons are important. One of my players and I actually homebrewed an Eladrin elf character here where she actually is able to change her season based on her current mood. So if she's ever angry, you'll see her as summer, but if she's ever sad, you'll see her as winter. Throughout my campaign, going with this player who plays an Eladrin that's very unique, it's kind of made Eladrin my favorite sort of elf option when it comes to playing a character. Just being a dungeon master to an Eladrin has been such a joy, which is Spring, by the way. She would be Spring if she's also enjoying it. But I wanted to bring this up because you can also reskin ordinary monsters to fit into the seasons in this sort of Eladrin-like feel. Wolves can grow thick coats in the winter, orcs can be desert dwelling in the summer heat, oozes might appear during spring floods and change different colors depending on the seasons. And so there you have it, the 4 seasons in Dungeons & Dragons. Spring brings renewal, floods, and awakening, summer brings heat, drought, and celebration, autumn brings harvest, storms, and creeping shadows, and winter brings silence, survival, and the potential death, which is dramatic, but I like that. By breaking your campaign into seasons, you have the passages of time matter. The world feels alive, your players feel immersed, and every journey becomes a little more unpredictable. So try it. Start small, maybe just add 1 festival, or make the next travel arc happen in the dead of winter. See how your players react. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me when I'm making these videos, as the more you interact on this video, the more YouTube pushes it into the algorithm, and my little channel about a human who isn't a mind flayer in disguise, talking about D&D, grows a whole lot more. And now I want to hear from you. What's your favorite season to set your adventures in? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, keep your dice warm, and may the seasons turn in your favor. I should do that voice more often. May the seasons turn into... I'm the D&D hunter. Okay. But bye-bye.